months.
Right.
With Will Ferrell, because obviously a huge star of stage and screen and big screen and little screen. And we've asked the question before, like we did with Oprah, and this woman who is her own industry unto herself. Why does she want to do this?
Why
Alec
slum
Baldwin?
it?
Why did he need to do it? We came up with our reasons, or at least our thoughts on it.
Yes.
We certainly have to ask that question here, because this is another huge star. There's only been a few episodes. It's an old character of his, which I don't think they're planning a third, but you never know.
I have no idea.
So that seemed odd as well, and we'll jump into that.
I was going to give you the numbers. So the first movie came out in 2008. The second movie came out in 2013, and it made $170 million off of a $50 million budget. So it was definitely
of the second film.
It was definitely a money earner.
So yeah, that's a massive hit, of course, by any standard. So we'll get into this. As mentioned, it was flagged by Doug early on. Yeah, Brandon.
I like to think that this is maybe the third of the Ron Burgundy series.
Possibly.
It's also 5 years after.
It is.
6 years after, I guess, technically.
It's 6 years after, right. And he has apparently, right off the bat, they signed him up and he agreed to do 2 12-episode seasons.
Right.
So we're 5 episodes in. So 7 more this season, apparently. And then there's going to be another season.
So many episodes.
What we're going to get into today is, find out from you guys what you thought of it, i.e. whether there should be more episodes and more seasons.
Right.
Obviously, when you have Will Ferrell, you're just like, fuck it, however many seasons he's going to agree to, we'll get. Right. This is a huge get for iHeartRadio. So, early on, Doug was supposed to listen to it. It was one of his extracurricular assignments. Extracurricular. I'm just going to say this again.
You have to stop drinking before the show.
I know.
It's 9 a.m., John.
Now, Doug had told me vodka was a great pre-workout drink, and I found it's true. I've been super relaxed during my workouts.
Sure.
But you know what? This isn't a workout, and it probably isn't appropriate here. Extracurricular. That Doug was supposed to go back since he alerted us to this coming podcast to listen to it.
Right.
And of course, you got on it before we did, before Doug did. You listened to just True Crime.
Just the first episode.
Okay.
Correct.
And to remind our listeners, your take on it was?
I didn't like it.
Right.
And mainly in that it's not that Will Ferrell isn't funny, because he certainly is. I don't like the co-host.
Okay.
Carolina.
So let's hold for a minute. On the first episode, which we didn't assign, that you listened to on your own.
Correct.
You enjoyed his performance, but you did not like Carolina.
I think that Will Ferrell as Ron Burgundy can be very funny.
Right.
I thought that what happened and why the films work so well is because he's a great cast of characters around him to play off of, and he had absolutely nothing, maybe less than nothing. I think she is a suck of funny.
Okay, so let's hold now.
Don't want to get too hot.
That was episode 1.
That's
what we're here for. So
1.
that is episode 1. We, of course, had you listen to Christmas Memories and Top 10 Women with RuPaul.
Correct.
Did you feel she was doing a better job on either of those episodes?
No.
Okay. So, tell us how you felt about it. Did you not like those episodes? And did you feel he continued to be funny?
So I found that with the RuPaul episode, I really enjoyed it. That when he had somebody to work off of, like RuPaul, he could be himself. And because there was prepared material, specifically his top 10 list, which I found hilarious.
Number 2, Xena Warrior Princess.
Oh, yeah.
And she's one of the greatest weapons this country
has.
She currently is at Camp David, where she lives.
I love when she makes that hollering sound when she... Yeah.
I can't quite do it.
No.
Right.
I thought the fact that he is... Because Ron Burgundy as this character in the 70s was this very misogynistic... Maybe ignorantly misogynistic, kind of unaware of how stupid and poorly he treated the people around him.
Pre-evolved,
exactly. And so Christina Applegate comes in and kind of brings him to an awareness of his status as a man-child of sorts, and that everyone around him is sort of a boys' team. And I thought that it was really good that they tried to bring the character into now and have his top 10 lists about women. You assume that it's going to be really misogynistic and gross.
Right.
And so bringing RuPaul in was a good choice. But then he also added in people like, a girl from his high school.
Yes.
And Lassie.
Right.
And so I thought that was
but
a
then
really
again,
good
to be
way.
fair, Lassie was his dog Baxter's request.
Right. And I thought that was a really good way to subvert the expectations, and I thought that really worked.
Right.
And so I'd be interested in guys. I thought RuPaul was great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, RuPaul is a great.
We're always going to,
We're
we've said it
huge
before in
fans.
the show. We're big fans. He's such a nice person, a funny person, and he's totally game.
And he plays really well.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's for me. Totally game. He plays really well. Doug, since you were the one who flagged this to us.
Yes, sir.
What did you think of, we'll start with Christmas Memories, which did not have the very lovely and talented RuPaul.
Okay. Well, I did listen to the RuPaul one first.
Okay.
So Christmas Memories, I thought...
No, let's go with RuPaul. I want your first impression of the first episode you listened to.
Okay, so my very first impression is that the Ron Burgundy character is a funny 5-minute skit.
Okay.
So a full podcast of him is too much for me.
He wears a little bit.
So
I agree
it
with that.
overstays its welcome
Yeah.
for you.
Now, and again, that one he did have RuPaul, who I think is a excellent guest on the podcast. I think even RuPaul, to me, it even felt like at points where like even he was like, maybe you're
A
going,
little lost. Or,
well,
And
just
worn
a little,
out.
and just a little worn out. Like, okay, yeah, that joke's been done 1,000 times, type
Okay.
of thing. But it was just okay. I mean, and I'll throw it out there now. There's no way I'm listening to any more of these
oh,
episodes.
so you only listened to the two we assigned.
I only listened to the two,
Okay.
and was not thrilled about either.
Right.
But I did like with Brandon. I liked that the top 10 list was funny, a little unexpected. That was great. But I just can't take Ron Burgundy in that much.
Sure.
Right.
That much of Ron Burgundy, I guess is what I should say. And then as far as the Christmas Memories, that one was like grinding teeth the whole episode for me.
Okay.
I do, I liked the role Carolina's playing, but it's just too much. Like all of it's too much. Ron Burgundy's too much.
Right.
Her, exasperated with, everything he says and his views on everything. It's just,
Right.
like,
His factual inaccuracies,
Right.
his outdated sexual politics.
Right, like I don't understand why they have at the end of every episode they have a errors
Fact
section
check.
where
Fact
she
check, yeah.
reads,
yeah, the
and
fact
it's just
check,
like
the Trump
she
face thing.
she pumps the brakes on every joke he makes.
All right. So for our listeners, you mean that he's getting a joke
Right,
rolling
he'll start
and she kind of
work-
kills the comedy.
Exactly, he'll start with
Okay.
a momentum of like a Ron Burgundy type kind of
Brandon,
misunderstanding.
our listeners in the Midwest may not know these West Coast terms.
Yeah.
And like I don't want to dogpile on her,
Right.
but she's just like she is.
Well, there's still
the
one more dog in this room, and
worst
I have not.
choice.
I have not expressed
Yeah.
my
And then
interest yet.
So, and then before
Yes,
you do,
Doug.
I would like to say
Oh
one
no,
other
Doug,
thing.
you two just keep talking. No, I'm
Thank
just
you.
kidding. Go ahead.
So the only other thing I thought during
Yeah.
and I believe it was during the Christmas Memories episode was that Ron Burgundy gives Brandon his run for his money on creating theme songs. It reminded me of Brandon's, when we put Brandon on the spot to make a theme song for our games.
Mm-hmm.
That was the highlight of that whole episode for me.
I think the upbeat one was the one where it was just the same, like
It's
3
not initially,
words.
but then he ends up with time.
Yes.
Well, so here's a little bit of him saying, after saying Christmas time a few times, just running out of words and singing all the lyrics with the word time.
Christmas time, it's a wonderful time. It's Christmas time, it's the Yuletide time. Christmas time, it's time for some cheer, spending some time from far and near. Christmas time, it's my favorite time, it's the only time, 'cause it's Christmas time. Quick, check the clock on the wall. Soon Santa will call, 'cause it's Christmas time. Time to time to time. Time to time, time to time to time. Special old time, time to time to time.
You get the gist.
No,
Right.
I have to tell you, as I listened to it, the first time I listened to it, I would go 99% likelihood that he a cappella just improv both songs. And because they have behind him, what our listeners just heard was pretty much a guitar-driven, sounds like jazz, maybe trio or quartet.
Right.
And it's very much the sound. I was thinking about if I was given just his vocal track. It's very much musicians trying to keep up with what is kind of a slightly off time because, he's not doing this to a click track. And again, I'm certain he didn't do it with the musicians.
Yes.
And I mean, it's what makes him funnier because he's a great improv artist. Those were absolutely the highlights for me, too. I was laughing out loud, actually, at both of them.
Right.
Did you think that it was missing jazz flute?
You know what? I'm glad they didn't push too hard on the jazz flute because I was worried this whole series was going to be them just making references back to all the things
movie,
we thought were funny from the film.
Right. And they definitely don't rely on that. It's definitely it's not a period piece. It takes place right now.
Sure, right.
And there's some fun in that because Ron Burgundy is definitely, it feels like a man who's taken out of time.
Yeah.
And kind of dropped into the modern era. Mm-hmm. They really push ads a lot in this show.
Right.
There are 4 or 5 ads.
But to be fair, every single ad is not just spoken by Ron Burgundy. It's very clearly also either written by or improv by Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed every single one.
The ads are really funny.
Yeah.
Like anything where it seems like it's prepared material is stuff that I think really works.
Right.
And anytime that he has to improv, it either gets tired. I agree with there are parts during the RuPaul interview where it gets tired, or when he's working against Carolina, I just like, oh boy. Okay. I don't know if she knows how to do it. John, what did you think? What were your thoughts on Chris's memories, as Doug just said?
Sure.
And
did I?
You misspoke a little bit, and you said Christmas memories.
That's a hallmark of the show, is all of us misspeaking. Hey, everybody remember me trying to get through the term. What was it I was trying to say?
Incredulous?
That I can't say? No, it wasn't incredulous.
Exacerbated.
Although, just so you know, I've been incredulous through much of this. It was extracurricular.
Extracurricular.
Wouldn't we
and
all
that time
tune
I
in?
nailed it, guys.
Yeah, you did. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't we all tune in, though, if it was Christmas memories?
I mean, I don't know if a podcast really is plussed up by that, but,
I'm just saying, if you're going to unwrap something at Christmas.
Hey!
There you go, buddy. I know some of my favorite Christmases have involved substantial memories. With the Carolina character, who's obviously gotten more criticism really than anything else, even though Doug said the Ron Burgundy character for him, again, outstays its welcome pretty quickly. She's doing a tough thing, which is playing a straight man.
Right.
So every time she speaks, we go, oh, she wasn't funny. She is having to play that straight man.
Right.
Christina Applegate does it so great in the first film, but of course it's not improv. She had a great script written for her. I did not have the same problem with her. I did listen to Christmas Memories first. So I had not heard True Crime or Meditation with Deepak Chopra.
Okay.
Which were the two, let's not get into that.
Cultural appropriation.
Which were the 2 episodes that preceded this one. And we're actually the first 2 full episodes of this podcast ever. So it should be said right off the bat, I have a huge tolerance for and love of Ron Burgundy.
Right.
And by the way, this does not extend to everything because I saw the second film and went, wow, that was awful.
Right.
That was truly unfunny. But Will Ferrell's very funny in the movie.
Absolutely,
when he's just left alone to go insane on camera, he's incredibly funny.
Right.
It was pretty much the rest of the film that wasn't funny. And it did feel like a retread of, you remember the scene that you thought was funny in the first one, here's a different version of
sort of
that
a
scene.
Hangovers type thing where they just kind of carbon copy the best bits.
Totally agreed.
But you didn't feel like that happened in the podcast.
It easily could have.
Okay.
And again, I just have a huge tolerance for Will Ferrell and for Ron Burgundy. He's got several points on the board right off the bat with me. It's just fucking funny to me.
Right.
I love the ridiculousness of the character. I love Will Ferrell. I'm realizing that as I'm listening to what is very much a hit and miss. It's an up or down. There were aspects that were really funny. There were, on the Christmas Memories, lots of flat material. Then I thought the whole bit about him as a young man on a beach in San Diego with a metal detector, and then, he discovers this.
One of my favorite gifts was a metal detector. Have you ever seen? Oftentimes, you'll see people on the beach with the metal detectors looking for trinkets and stuff like that. Well, when I was a kid, I received a metal detector, and I absolutely loved it. I would get home from school, and I'd rush to the beach down in San Diego and hunt for buried treasure. I never worked a summer job because I would collect anywhere from $9,000 to $12,000 in change.
Wow.
I know.
Really? Okay.
That's a lot of change.
That's a lot.
Yep.
And they hated me at the bank because I refused to roll the change. And I'd just bring it in big grocery bags, I'd have to double up the grocery bags because they're so heavy. And I would make the teller count it out in front of me. And I had already pre-counted it, so I knew exactly how much there was.
Well, if you already pre-counted it, why wouldn't you just go ahead and put the change in money rolls? Wouldn't that have been easier?
I know. You would think that I would do that, but I just